The term nervous system regulation has become a little bit of buzzword in modern day, especially in social media. The problem is that you can't really regulate a nervous system if you don't even know what state your nervous system is in to begin with. My name's Dr. Katie, and I teach people to understand the language of their body so they can respond with greater compassion, curiosity, and self-trust. Well, thank you for joining for this video, and today we're going to be talking about how to actually recognize when your nervous system is going into a stress state. Before we get started, if you're not already a subscriber, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on awesome videos just like this one. So often when I work with folks on beginning to learn how to regulate their nervous system, and I'm not above it, this has been my experience personally as well as professionally, one of the biggest barriers to actually starting to regulate the nervous system is actually recognizing when the nervous system is coming into a stressful state. Very often we don't recognize when our nervous system is stressed until we are 10 out of 10 panic attack status and our body is screaming at us to pay attention. And at that point, any tool is only going to be so effective because your body is convinced that you are in very real danger. So the trick is starting to recognize when your system is just beginning to go into that state instead of waiting until it is an absolute emergency. Because the nervous system learns from experience, me telling you about this stuff is only going to get you so far. So today I'd like to guide you through a guided visualization that I find really effective in teaching people to hear the whispers of their body so it doesn't feel the need to shout. So find a comfortable seat. If you're able to, allow your eyes to close or just allow for a gentle gaze down towards the floor and allow your attention to turn inward. Take a moment just to feel your body. Take a breath in and let it out in a sigh. And I want you to imagine that you're in your car. You're on your way to an appointment, an important appointment that you've been waiting months for, and you're running late. You know that you're cutting it close and you're just really hoping that you'll be on time. And all of a sudden, traffic slows to a crawl and then slowly stops. You realize that you're hitting traffic and that likely means you're going to be late to this very important appointment. As you imagine being in your car in this circumstance, notice what happens in your body. What physical sensations do you notice? What emotions? Maybe you notice your heart rate increases, or you start to breathe a little faster, or your breathing feels a little bit tight. Maybe you notice your shoulders raise up in tension and you start leaning around and looking around the cars to see how far the traffic goes down the road. Your mind is already racing, thinking about worst case scenarios, trying to figure out when you can get this appointment rescheduled for, maybe even looking up the doctor's office phone number to call them and let them know. And just sit with that for a moment. Witness your body in that experience. At any time, if it starts to feel too intense, you can open your eyes. Now imagine that you suddenly see on the other side of the road a school bus drive by. And slowly cars start to trickle forward, and you realize that it was just a brief stop. Traffic starts to flow again, and you know that you're going to be on time. You double check the GPS, and you're actually going to be 5 minutes early. Notice how that lands in your body. Notice the release of tension. Your heart rate starts to slow down, your shoulders drop. Maybe you even sigh out loud. And maybe even you start to smile and laugh a little bit because of how worked up you started to get. Allow your attention to slowly come back to your body and the room that you're presently sitting in. Feel the pressure of the chair beneath you, the temperature of the air on your skin. And when you're ready, allow your eyes to slowly blink open. Now, that visualization is a perfect example of a mild case of nervous system activation and then a return to regulation. And this is exactly how our nervous systems are meant to function. They are meant to notify us when there's something dangerous occurring. And then when the threat has passed, they are meant to return back to a normal baseline. Now, granted, in that visualization, you were never in any actual physical danger. You were in the car in both situations. The only thing that changed was your circumstances and the information that you had. And even though you were never in any physical danger, our nervous system doesn't know the difference between running late for an appointment and being chased by a bear. Granted, you're probably going to have a much bigger response in your nervous system if you're being chased by a bear, or at least I hope you would, than if you're just running late for an appointment. But your nervous system activation starts the same way. Now, most people don't notice when their nervous system is speaking to them until they are at that intensity that would be called for to deal with a predator or a physical threat. But our bodies are constantly sending us signals throughout the day about what level of arousal or stress we're experiencing in that moment. And that's where our nervous system can be such a wealth of information. It's something that we can use to monitor what's going around in our lives, whether the people we're with are aligned with us, whether we're making aligned decisions. It is the greatest source of information that we have at our fingertips is literally within our own bodies. And if we can start to notice that nervous system activation at this lower level, when it's just beginning, when we're just starting to feel that tension, if we can be present with our bodies in that moment, rather than waiting until the point where our body has to scream at us to get our attention, we can start to calm that stress response. We can manage that stress response so that we stay in control mentally, emotionally, and physically during stressful experiences. This is one of those points when a lot of people allow self-judgment and criticism to enter into their mind. When they say things like, I mean, really, it wasn't that big of a deal. Why did my body respond that way? And that's not for us to decide. The nervous system doesn't care about what you know logically. It cares about what you've experienced in the past. And if in the past you've experienced something that was highly stressful, even if logically you know that you are physically safe, your body is going to respond as if that is a real physical threat because it wants to get you out of there and prevent you from getting hurt again, mentally, emotionally, or physically. When you think about your day, getting up, making breakfast, going to work, maybe dropping your kids off at school, talking to friends and family, dealing with normal daily stressors, each one of those stressors may impact your system in a similar way, just a little bit. And those stressors can build. So when you look at your day as a whole and you imagine how many minor stressors are loading onto your nervous system, that load is cumulative. Unless we do something to actively dispel that stress, that energy, that tension from our bodies. Another commonly heard phrase is that the body keeps the score. Now, that statement has a lot of depth to it, and we could make a whole video just on that. But in this circumstance, that's one of the pieces that is meant by that. The body remembers the stress, even if cognitively you forget about it. Even if your conscious mind forgets about it, your subconscious doesn't. And your subconscious holds on to that. And so when we get into these states of constant chronic stress, where we are experiencing stressors throughout the day, and we are not taking the time to allow our bodies to come back to that regulated state where it's just boom, 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 stressor after stressor after stressor, our nervous system will never find the ability to come back to that regulated state. It's just going to continue to build. And that's when we reach points where we have chronic pain, chronic illness, burnout, because the body has been speaking to you for too long, and now it's beginning to shout. So let me know down in the comments what you think. My challenge for you for the next week is to tune in periodically, to notice how closely your physical and mental and emotional state resembles what you experienced in that visualization. To start to just be aware of, oh wow, I'm mildly activated, moderately activated. I am off the chart activated. But just start to draw awareness of it, because that's where it begins. The awareness is the first step. You cannot change what you are not aware of. So let me know down in the comments what you think, what your experience is. Come back during the week, watch it again. Allow this to start to become a set automatic part of your awareness, because this is body literacy. This is speaking your body's language, listening to it at least. And if you want to know how to start to reduce that stress as you go along so that you don't continue to build tension throughout the day, tune into my next video, because that is exactly what we're going to get into. Sending you all so much love, and I will see you in the next video.